Alright, we're checking out another solar power generator. This is the FlashFish A301. It's a pretty small power generator, the size of my hand here. Weighs about 7 pounds, 292 watt hours, or about 80 amp hours of energy in here. Lithium ion cells, not lithium iron phosphate. I get a bunch of stuff here in the box. Of course, you get your instruction manual with all the specs and details in there. You get a USB-C to USB-C cable for powering things up to 100 watts for the PD 100 watt USB-C output and input. Talk about that here in a second. You have an AC charger here for obviously charging the power station. And this power brick has a 15 volt 4 amp output up to 60 watts. So that will charge up this power station in about 4 hours. And the barrel connector on here is a 5521. I think they're all the same 5521 barrel connector on all the connector ports on here. You get a cigarette lighter adapter as well. So if you want to charge up this power station in your car, plug this into your cigarette lighter, and then this into the DC input on the side here. I'll show you here in a second. And then you have this DC output. So if you have something that uses a cigarette lighter adapters and you want to power up like a fridge or a fan or some sort of other DC appliance, you can use this. This is a 5521 barrel connector, and there's 2 of them here in the front. So you can plug it here on the left, and there's another one here on the right. So taking a closer look at the power station itself here, you can see it's fairly small. You can read the specs here on the bottom if you want to pause the video. Got some nice rubber feet here. It's got a fairly rugged build. I think it's fairly thick ABS plastic here. That's, it should be fairly durable. I mean, it's not going to be, if you drop it, it might crack. But I think it'll be fine, be fairly durable for knocking around inside a car. It should be able to not get too damaged in terms of getting scrapes and that kind of stuff. You get power button here to turn on the power station. So turn this on, and then you'll see here at the total capacity available, and it says output. It turns on all of these DC outputs here. And just to show you real quickly, you get the 5521 barrel connector, DC 12 volts, 2 of them here, USB-C power delivery 100 watts, and it's input and output. So if you want to charge up the power station via a smaller USB-C brick, so for example, I've got this USB-C power delivery brick here. This one is only 65 watts, but if you have a 100 watt one, obviously it'll go up to 100 watts. But if you want to carry something around a lot smaller, this is much more compact compared to the actual AC charger that's included. You can carry around this. I mean, for example, if you have something that's for your laptop already and you don't want to carry around an extra power brick, you can charge up the power station via USB-C, and you just use the included USB-C cable, plug one in here and plug one in over there, and it will charge up the power station. You get 2 standard USB ports here. These are just 5 volts, 2.4 amps, and then you have a quick charge 3.0 USB-A port up to 18 watts. On the top here, you have a wireless, basically wireless charging pad. So I think for those phones that have the the wireless charging built in, this will work up to 10 watts. My phone works with this no problem. You get a nice little handle here that collapses down and feels pretty solid. It's not rickety, and you can carry around the power station. Of course, it's pretty light, so it's not a big deal. And the buttons here, you turn on the power station. If you want to use the AC here, it's on the side. You got to turn it on. So right now the light's off. You have to long press this for 3 seconds, and it'll turn on the AC. And you see a little indicator here showing that it's on. If you try and just turn this on, so press the long press for 3 seconds, it'll turn it off. And then to long press this again, turn off the power station. If you try and turn on the AC here without turning the power station on first, it doesn't work. So you have to turn this on first, and then long press this, and then that'll activate the AC ports, which are on this side over here. And you can see I've activated the light by accident. There's a little button right here. I'll show you that in a second. 2 AC ports here, one that's grounded and one that's not. This is the DC in for the AC power brick for charging up the power station. That's included, 5521. It's some air input vents on this side. And then on this side is a exhaust fan to keep things cool. The 2 AC ports here are 300 watts, and they're both pure sine wave inverters. So this is a maximum AC output of 300 watts. So keep that in mind in terms of the total output power of this power station. It's not super huge. So while you can charge up, use up to 9 devices at all at once. So basically you can do the wireless charging, that's 1, both AC, that's 3, and then all 6 here in the front charging up something. They can all be active at the same time. Do know that it's this whole power station is limited up to 300 watts, and that also includes any power usage from the light in the back here. Nice huge light. One press turns it on, so I inadvertently tapped that here. I've done that actually a few times, so keep that in mind that you can accidentally turn on and it will draw power, so be aware of that. If you press it again, it increases the light output. That's the 3rd light output. So three levels of light output. It's very bright. And you get your SOS, strobe, and then I'll turn it off. So it just basically shuffles through each of those modes. But yeah, this is a very huge light. You see my hand here, and level 3 is super bright. So if you use something like this for camping, it's going to definitely come in handy as a nice bright light to illuminate your area. And another quick note here on the PD 100 watt charging, you can actually have both of these active at the same time. So if you want to be charging via the DC in here with the AC brick and also charging via USB-C at the same time, it will work. And it will I think it reduces the total charge time from 4 hours to 3.5 hours if both are active. So if you're kind of in a rush and want to charge it up quickly, you can have both of them going at the same time, or just one or the other. It's up to you. Something to keep in mind is when you are using the PD 100 watt for charging the power station, it does not seem to have the ability to use any of the USB-C DC outputs as outputs. So if you're charging the power station via this USB-C port, it basically takes up at whatever is the circuitry is being used, and you're not able to charge other things. So there's no it doesn't have dual function. For some reason, it doesn't work for me. It doesn't explain that in the manual, but when I tried to have both of them, charging input and also maybe charging something on here, or the wireless charging, for example, on top, any of the DC stuff did not work while I was charging via the USB-C PD. Also note that when you are charging, it just shows the percentage flashing. It's indicating that it's actually charging, but it does not show you anything anywhere on here what the wattage the charge rate is in terms of input or output. So that's one of the things that is a little bit lacking on this model. It does not show you how much you're using and how much in terms of how much energy you're putting in. And not a big deal when you're using the AC for charging up the power station. Of course, it's going to be fairly fast, but then they did send along the solar panels for this one. So they sent along a 100 watt foldable solar panel, also made by the same company, FlashFish. It's a bit smaller than the X-Tar SP100 that I reviewed a while back. So even though it's rated for 100 watts like the X-Tar, it did not have like as much output as that other model, which cost quite a bit more. So that one was about 300, I believe. The FlashFish 100 watt panel was currently it's about 180 with a $15 off coupon. So was that about 165? So almost half the price. But while I was using the solar panel, the FlashFish solar panel that charges up, I actually connected both of those panels up to one of my other power stations, the EcoFlow River Pro, which does show you the wattage that's on the display. And the X-Tar was able to output about 79, 80 watts, while the FlashFish 100 watt panel was outputting about 54, 55 watts. So keep that in mind. You know, it is a bit less, but it doesn't seem to be as efficient, but it is also a smaller panel as well. But of course, you know, that really depends on your conditions. But I did put the panels out at the same time for where the sun was and at the same time of day. So I wanted to see how efficient that panel was. That's pretty typical for a panel that size and that price range, even though it's rated for 100 watts. That's under absolute maximum ideal conditions. And also, it doesn't have any kind of like stand in the back. So you will have to use something else to prop it up to get the right angle, to get the maximum output out of the panel. Of course, you know, other factors like shade, clouds, that kind of thing are going to reduce your maximum output of that panel. That panel also does come with, which is attached, like a USB C and quick charge 3.0 ports. So if you want to charge up your other devices from the panel directly, you can do that. That's attached to the back. But keep in mind that that little device there is not waterproof. I think the front side is water resistant, but the back side, of course, that little box is not. So be careful, don't get water on that. The solar panel that they sent, the 100 watt FlashFish solar panel, did come with adapters. So it came with a cable that's going to work with the this power station. The A301 has 55 21 barrel connectors on both sides, so obviously it'll work on this model, and they plug it directly into the solar panel. And it does come with some adapters for working with other types of barrel connectors, and that's what I use, so I could connect it up to my other power station, which has a different connector as an XT60. So yeah, it does include those, and that's a nice feature in terms of being able to use that panel with other types of power stations. Yeah, overall, it's a pretty nice power station. You know, there's a few things that I wish it would have, and especially like showing the input and output of the wattage that's being used in terms of the power input and output. But other than that, it's not a super big deal. You know, you just have to be careful how much stuff you're plugging in here, because you will, if you're, especially on the AC side, if you're plugging in something that's drawing too much power, it will shut down the power station. The overcurrent protection will kick in and turn that off and shut down the AC ports, so be careful of that. The price on this is really decent right now. It's like around $250 with a $50 off coupon, so it's around $200 to $210. And of course, you know, the price is going to vary depending on when you're watching this video and what coupons are available, but at the recording of this video, it's around $200. And for something that's around a capacity of 292 watt hours, pretty decent. You definitely charge up a ton of stuff, you know, whatever devices you have, and will last quite a bit in terms of time. It really, of course, depends on what you're plugging in here, you know, so, and then the power draw and how much is, how quickly it's drawing down that power. So be aware that really your mileage will vary depending upon what you plug into this thing. Anyway, it's going to cover for this video. I'll have a playlist of other power stations that I reviewed, solar panels, etc., down in the video description. Check it out if you want to see some other models and see how those compared to this one. That's going to do it for this video. I'll talk to you guys in the next one.